All right, well, I'm going to start the recording. So, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm not very good at this kind of stuff and conversations and all that, but it's been really crazy seeing a lot of the stuff that's been happening lately with I don't know, just like physics and history and all that kinds of stuff and I don't know, it's an interesting time we're living in.
It certainly is. So I guess we're already live. Let me introduce myself then. This is Loes, uh, a girl's name for a girly avatar that I picked up way long ago in World of Warcraft, and now I'm stuck with it, being a manly man. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'll have to
mean,
deal with using that name.
yeah, I mean, Ixen is the same way. I mean, it was my old that was my rogue, and then my warrior was also named that. And then
uh,
I was using those characters on the forums, and then when I moved off of the official WoW forums and found TLDR and all that stuff, I mean, I just kept with the name because that's how everybody recognized me from the forums, and that was that. So now I'm
yeah,
kind of stuck with it.
indeed. The world is a list of links. That's
Yeah,
part of my job. Data that points to other data. And in our personal cases, it's some kind of identifier, and yeah, that's where we are.
yeah.
Ixan and Loesje 2.
No, it's just, I mean, I feel like ever since COVID, my outlook on things has changed a lot because I used to ever since COVID happened, it's like the mask kind of came off on a lot of institutions where it's like, oh, you know,
Yes.
people are people, but for the most part, I feel like a lot of these institutions were at least functioning, or at least things you wouldn't
Yeah.
think are affected were functioning. But it seems like every single aspect from history to geology to physics, everything, everything feels like it has been kind of, I don't want to call it a lie necessarily, but it seems everything has been stunted for a very long time, and it feels like things aren't as was told to us when we were growing up, you know?
Yes. I have a similar experience. Being a bit older, I had that feeling you described around the financial crisis 2008, 2010. Like everything I thought I knew is false. And then 2020 came around and it was confirmed, and oh shit, it's even worse than I feared.
So that's interesting that you brought that up. I'm sure you've like seen my politics and the politics thread, and you know I voted for Trump. But that wasn't always. I've never been a Republican in my life until things started going crazy. And it's funny you bring up the financial crisis because that's one of the first, I guess, black pills I ever really took as a young man. Because that was
So yeah,
2000. Yeah, so that was 2008. So for me, I was still in my 20s,
yeah,
near the end of my 20s. And the financial crisis really blackpilled me because I voted for Obama. And
hmm
that was kind of where I was like, wait a minute, what did Obama just do? Wait a minute, what's going on? And you
yeah,
know, Obama in our country ran on change. It was this blank. I bought into all that stuff. I had grown up very, I don't know, I was just naturally very liberal. I was against the Iraq war against Bush, and I was like, get Bush out. Obama's going to come in, and he basically just did the same shit Bush was doing. Like
yeah.
he didn't do anything different than Bush did.
Yeah, and your story is the same. It's the same for me. And well, you got there earlier then, because for me the black pill also came in the financial crisis, but I was way in my thirties by then. Is that right? Well, anyways, I'm some 10 years older than you, I guess. Mm.
I'm in my 40s now, so
Oh, okay, yeah, I just turned 53 last week. Um, so that gives you a head start. And
Yeah.
then you said, yes, I had another black pill around 2020, and the same for me. And the feelings you have about politics, geopolitics, etc., same for me. The American politicians and activities you mentioned, of course, I knew about these, and I had the same feelings as you, and the change that you experienced, and similar things that were happening over here in Holland.
Yeah.
Um, Very interesting to go into, but if I'm right, our focus would be space.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah,
sort of like it kind of just sort of comes into everything because there's a lot of stuff on my mind that I've wanted to talk about.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, like I said, I'm just an idiot that consumes stuff on YouTube. But honestly, the
Same,
more I
same.
think about it, it's not any less bad information than what we were getting out of textbooks from the government.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm starting to realize that there's been lies in everything, and everyone's
yeah,
lying. Maybe not necessarily everyone's lying, but everyone's biased towards a certain way, which biases information
yeah,
naturally. And we all do it. We're human. I do it, you know?
yeah,
And it's changed the way I look at it's made me question literally everything now. Everything. And
yeah,
it started off with like history, with ancient Egypt, and I mean, like, I don't want to get into the pyramid stuff, but I'll just say this:
amazing.
I'm not trying to say aliens built it or anything, but it's very clear that whatever they've been telling us is clearly not how they built the pyramids. The real answer is no one has any idea how, but everyone's going to tell you how they did it. And it feels very
Yeah, yeah,
clear. And there are more examples with Gobekli Tepe showing up, and all of the scholars were saying civilization's only 10,000 years old, which always kind of struck me as kind of weird. So we've been anatomically humans for at least 200,000 years, and we were just
yeah,
hunter. Like, that didn't make much sense to me, that for 190,000 years we're not doing nothing, and then suddenly we discover civilization, and then it's like straight
hmm,
up. That seems like a very strange graph if you were to graph our technological process. Like, that would
yeah.
seems very weird. So that
That,
always
that's
kind
where
of
I
struck me
think.
as kind of weird, and that transitions into throughout Atlas, because now a lot of stuff is emerging with like the Younger Dryas, and how did the Ice Age actually come about, and how did it actually end. And there's a lot of evidence emerging that it might have been a comet impact or some sort of astronomical event. And now we have Three Eye Atlas, and even if it is natural, it's so this even if it is a natural just rock in space, it's so fucking weird, dude. It's so weird. And the weirdest thing literally just happened when these coronal mass injections are syncing up with the rock and making it at least show there's maybe some sort of correlation. And if that's true, if astronomical objects can affect the sun in some way and make it like spaz out, then
Yeah,
the universe may be a far more dangerous place than we ever imagined. Anyways,
I can confirm that from the stuff that I YouTube consumed in the past decade.
yeah. No, it's just and it gets me thinking about like ideas, right? Like science fiction ideas. And I think a lot of this stuff is really interesting because of that. We need more stuff like this. We need people interested in it. And the thing that really bothers me about it is there's a lot of people that are like, you would expect, right? Oh, it's aliens. Oh, it's, but the thing that I didn't expect is that it's like there's a counterweight to that I never really would have questioned before, where it's like there are people that are, it's totally natural. It's natural, and they're just as crazy as the people that are convinced that it's aliens, you know. And that's something that I noticed that was kind of weird about it, where it's like, no, it's a comet. Don't ask any questions. I was like,
Yeah,
whoa,
yeah, yeah.
really?
It's the rejection of observed facts just because they don't fit the explanation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always curious about the facts that don't fit the explanation, and I just want to let them be, and not jump to conclusions. Oh, it's aliens.
Well, the problem with me is I always jump to conclusions, but that's kind of I'm more of a well, I don't want to say more of. You've been very creative too, but I've done a lot of creative. I have a creative spark in me,
Certainly.
and one of the things that fuels my muse is science fiction novels and stuff like this. I told you about the problem book series, and it also changed my look on everything. Even though it was a science fiction book,
Yeah, they do that.
the story is sort of like I don't know. Do you know anything about the three body problem, and do you care about spoilers?
I don't know these books. I know they're famous. You can tell me spoilers. That's okay. That might just attract me to go read them.
Okay.
So tell.
So so guys, spoiler alert. If I ever do wind up putting this online, Three Body Problem is a really good series of books that came out dealing with sort of like an alien question in a I don't want to say realistic manner, but I'll say that the physics are at least treated with respect. So it's like the aliens can't just teleport to us from another galaxy or whatever. There's an exchange. There's time periods. The time frames are very huge. It's sort of like the Foundation, Asimov's Foundation series that takes place over thousands of years.
Yes.
It's sort of like that where there are big time jumps in the story like that where it's decades, hundreds of years may go by, and the whole thing is the premise is well the aliens are going to be here in 300 years. How do we prepare human civilization for when they're here to invade our planet? And the whole context behind why they want to invade their planet is their solar system is very what's the word I'm looking for? Volatile. It's not a stable system, and that's where the three body problem title comes from because it's a physics problem in astrophysics
Ah, yeah.
where you
I
have
do know
three
the three-body
stars.
problem.
Yeah,
It
three
becomes a
stars.
chaotic cycling. Yeah.
Yeah. So they can't really the orbits they can't resolve, and it creates a very chaotic situation.
Yeah.
And the aliens in the book realize they're cooked, and when they find out they find Earth which is habitable to them, and it looks like a paradise compared to their planet. They're like, well, we're just going to leave our planet and invade yours and occupy your planet because our star system's screwed. And they're not like
Yeah.
like billions and billions of years more advanced than us. They're more like a couple thousand years more advanced, where their faster than light drives only go like at best 15% the speed of light. So it's still going to take them centuries to get here. And it's about like how did humanity plan for that and all kinds of things. And it just sort of shifted my way of thinking about really foreign threats in general. And some of the strategies the aliens are implementing in this book are things that I see in the real world now. But it's not necessarily, oh, aliens are doing that. But if this guy thought about these strategies in this book, why wouldn't governments be using these strategies now in real life?
Yes. I can see that. Yeah.
And it made me start thinking about things he talks in the book that the aliens do. And it just started making me look at scientists and the way string theory has been and the way all of the lies in science and mathematics and physics and all this stuff. And it almost makes me feel like, is the government suppressing a lot of these theories because they have really advanced sci-fi technology? And why would the government do that? Well, military secrets. In World War One, I know I'm going everywhere, but in World War One,
Yeah.
tanks were like a big thing, and it was like a military secret. Then you had the Manhattan Project in World War Two. That was this big top secret project, and the only reason why we announced we had nuclear bombs is because we used them. If the government
Yeah.
today made some sort of massive breakthrough in physics that would completely change everything, why wouldn't they withhold it? For the very simple reason that this creates a new technology that completely wins the game, but you wouldn't ever really reveal it until you wanted to use it, because then your enemies know about, oh, that's what physics are. You know what I'm saying? They would immediately know what to research, and the game would be up if they ever used it without having to absolutely use it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and that's another fear point to my list of fear points. Thank
Right.
you.
Anyways, I know I'm ranting, and I hope there's structure to this, but I'm not even necessarily saying the government's doing stuff like that, but it makes me think anytime someone's talking about when string theory hasn't made a breakthrough in 3 decades, is the government trying to, hey, public, look, it's string theory, totally is string theory, go over there, don't look over here, kind of thing, because they don't want the
Yeah.
genie out of the bottle on whatever new bomb they've created or whatever. And it makes me wonder about that kind of stuff. And and it also sort of dovetails back to the Three Eye Atlas, in the sense that all of these scientists, NASA, the Chinese government, none of them are really like saying much about it. And any of the pictures they do release is low quality, and it's very obvious that they're not showing us the best stuff. And why
No.
would they
Yeah.
show us the best stuff? They and it really bothers me. It really bothers me, because all this stuff could be mundane, and they're keeping it top secret just because that's how government works now, and they don't release any information that they have.
Yeah. Um, I don't even know how to respond to it. Your story is complete and convincing. Um, I'm more at plucking at a detail of the complete picture that you're trying to paint in a few minutes.
Oh,
Because, well, we
and
started off
yeah, go ahead.
chatting a lot, text chatting a lot about space stuff, 3i Atlas for starters. And then I thought, like, okay, if we're gonna do a podcast, would it be nice if you explain your view and understanding of the cosmos for starters? You already started doing that talk, and I thought, like, maybe in another episode, because we have a lot to talk about, I can give mine. Um,
Yeah,
or would
I've
you
been
more
talking a lot. Why
prefer
don't
me
you?
to?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go
Or
ahead.
would you prefer me to respond or give my views on a couple of things you've been thinking of, like what are my thoughts about the similar subjects? Well, you certainly cover a couple of subjects that I do know very little about,
Uh,
and a couple of subjects that I think I can add stuff to, and vice versa.
no, no, that makes sense. And I was just I've just been going off on a tangent. I'm not very good at speaking, so my consciousness kind of flows all over the place a lot. And that's just been kind of bouncing around in my head. And I feel like Three Eye Atlas has really kind of underscored that behavior from
Yeah.
NASA. And it's not just NASA; it's every national organization. But why don't you tell us about your theory of the universe? What excites you about Three Eye Atlas? And since I kind of talked about what Three Eye Atlas has gotten me thinking about, what has it got you talking and thinking about?
Okay, well, let me try. Starting off with 3i Atlas, a thing that kinda looks like a comet if I look at the pictures, the telescope pictures, which are normal like telescope pictures I've seen for all my life. And then its oddities, which are like sudden color change, or suddenly getting brighter, or suddenly having other elements in the spectrum. Mm, all of these things make me think like it reminded me immediately of the electric universe theory that I learned about some 10 years ago for the first time, and I've been viewing YouTubes and reading documents about that ever since. So I'd say for me, 3i Atlas is a demonstration of a, or it's a test of the traditional paradigm, gravity-based description of how objects in space move versus the electrical paradigm of how stuff moves in space. And it favors very much the electrical plasma model. So what do I think is going on? The electric universe theory basically, well, the main rule that I understood from it is like not gravity is the major force, but electromagnetism is the major force that determines where matter goes and how it transmutes and where it moves to and well, how it appears to us. So no longer uh, a universe of islands with a star here and a planet there and an asteroid elsewhere, and they're all just floating independently, but a universe full of electromagnetic fields uh, which connect everything. And a universe also full of plasma because the interplanetary space is not entirely empty. It is only very thinly distributed ions, largely hydrogen, but within a solar system, certainly uh, all kind of matter that exists on planets is also found in the interplanetary medium, as far as I know, of course. And all of these are constantly at the push and pull of the electromagnetic fields that move about relative to where stars and planets are and what is happening on these stars and planets. So the main driver, the main engine of all this in our solar system is the sun. It is for the gravitational model, like we're all tied circling the sun, but it is also for the electromagnetic because the sun has a very big electromagnetic field that is being studied now by the Voyager probes. It's famous for it in the last 10 years that it was passing through the heliopoles, where like the solar wind, which is plasma flowing out from the sun, uh, its power evens out with the interstellar uh, movement of particles of plasma. So all this plasma exists and is moving about according to electrophysics is nothing new to astronomy. It's just that the electric universe module says it goes even further and deeper. Um, and the last 10, 15 years, that has become very well studied in solar physics, where with the SOHOs and Stereo and all these other solar observatories, space solar observatories, it has become very clear that solar coronal mass ejections, coronal holes, flares, that they all have an effect on the solar wind, which is the stream of plasma going out from the sun uh, as it uh, as it goes through its energetic processes. And these charged particles, sometimes they're negative, sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're fast, sometimes they're slow, sometimes they're magnetically polarized north, sometimes they're polarized south. All these changes affect Earth's atmosphere on a scale from days to minutes. Um, so that the last 15 years have become a pretty strong confirmation of this electric universe model. And now this comet comes in, going through various layers of the solar electromagnetic envelope and responding to them. Um, I could link a video, of course. I'm trying to do all this from the top of my head
No, no,
because
you're
this
doing
is an
it.
audio format.
I do have some questions if I wanted to interject. If I'm listening to you, and So if I'm understanding you correctly, I'm not a very big science guy. I'm into it, but I'm not like a learned professor. I'm just a guy.
So my
And so with this magnetic pull and push and stuff, does that include gravity or does this replace gravity as an idea?
it adds to gravity.
Okay. So
Um,
gravity is still its own force. The electric
yeah,
universe you're talking about is that that electromagnetism is the actual defining physical, most powerful electrical force that transcends even gravity, and these are the effects.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So let me give an example. Let me describe it. Uh, the Earth in its orbit around the Sun is still a function of gravity, as much as we've always learned it, except for some edge cases where the electromagnetic push and pull can start to affect the mass distribution in a planet. And if that happens, then movements start shifting because gravity is based in mass. So it comes on top of it. The gravity deals with the mass of things, and the electromagnetism deals with the
Charge.
the charge, yeah, with the charge of the matter. And you know the Lorentz force.
I watched a really cool video called the Lorentz plasma cannon, and this crazy
Oh,
dude basically put like a was firing a projectile with a wire and lasers
yeah,
around
yeah,
it and pumping it full of electricity, and it was basically
yeah,
firing a lightning bolt gun.
yeah. Okay, I think that's what I mean. A railgun is a demonstration of the Lorentz force. It is physical movement created by electromagnetic force.
Right. And I remember the guy talking about how with a Lorentz force, if the motion of the object is traveling faster than the build of the charge, I'm probably butchering this, something like that, then the charge remains stable. But to accelerate an object like that, you need a tremendous amount of force. And there needs to be some sort of electromagnetic field to sort of like create a channel for the plasma. And if you were able to do that, you would be able to put tremendous amount of electricity in a small little cable wire and make it stable. Am I is that a am I describing? I don't know if I'm describing that right. I don't even know if you know what I'm talking about. But that's my only understanding of the Lorentz force that you're talking about. I don't know if you could I don't know.
Um, as I've not seen this particular video, but I think I think we're both kind of looking at the same thing here.
Right. That's the
The basic idea is if an electromagnetic field changes, then also the Lorentz force changes and a movement can occur. It's the way the Lorentz force is what makes an what makes an electromotor run. Electrical cars, the wheels turn because of the Lorentz force.
okay.
Um, so how did three I'm there? Yeah, there are some suggestions that the speed of 3I Atlas was changing unexpectedly compared to its gravitationally predicted orbit. That's where one point where I think yes, it comes in from deep outer space with maybe a very different charge buildup inside itself, and suddenly this all starts interacting with its new environment. So lots of stuff inside it starts moving and affecting its
Almost like a
spin.
almost like a giant pop of static electricity. You know when you touch a balloon after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 that is that. Okay, that's the words I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah, like suddenly you have this shift from one state to another, just like you have when you get close when you're charged from walking around on plastic floor and you touch a metal object. Yeah, this kind of um, I think something like that might be happening to 3i Atlas, and also what this video that I viewed about it from the Thunderbolts, I believe I linked it to you.
Yeah. So in
Describe.
this analogy, 3i Atlas would be the finger touching the fridge, and the fridge
Yeah,
would be our sun.
yeah. Thank you. That is the metaphor I was looking for because this has been spinning through my head, and that's it. Like it's the finger touching when it's charged. Yeah. So that would explain some of the strange phenomena where it suddenly changes a bit of its movement, or it suddenly changes its color because it's literally its particles start getting change in charge, and just like a luminescent tube, how is it called in English? Een TL-buis?
Luminescent
No,
tube,
the fluorescent tubes.
fluorescent tubes.
Uh, yeah, plasma can emit light if you put power on it,
Oh, lava
because
lamp.
uh, yeah,
Are you talking like a lava
so
lamp? Is that?
no, not a lava lamp, a plasma tube, a fluorescent tube, a tube with a mostly vacuum but filled with neon or xenon or one of these noble gases,
Oh yeah,
and you put
yeah.
a charge to it, and the charge put on it excites the neon or the xenon, and when the electrons that are in a higher orbit because of the charge drop back, they emit that energy in the form of visible light, or I think it's ultraviolet light, which is then transformed into visible light by whatever coating inside the tube. Similar things are happening in comets all the time, or at least that's what I understand and believe. So the gases start emitting light because they get excited, not in the normal, excited in the physical term, not in the emotional term.
No, I got you.
uh, yeah, and then they drop back and emit light. And depending on what molecule it is or the level of excitement that has been done, the color of the light emitted changes. And this comet has been going through a couple of phase changes as it moves into this new environment to which it had not previously stabilized. So all this pent up potential between wherever it came from and what the circumstances were, and the different charge environment of the sun start getting evened out in a pretty violent way.
And another thing, there was an anti-tail to 3i Atlas pointed directly towards the sun. Is it possible there was that's some sort of electromagnetic force charge thing that was sort of like syncing? I don't know what the word would be in electro terms, but sort of like syncing up, where it's like two magnet. That's when the two magnets first sort of like lock onto each other.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that it's like the solar wind charge, I believe, is largely uh, positive or well, it's either positive or negative. And maybe this comet comes in with a lot of oppositely charged material, so it starts getting attracted towards wherever this other force is coming from, which is the sun, towards the sun.
This makes an interesting idea for some sort of propulsion system for a sci-fi engine system. If you could manipulate that engine or that sort of magnetic energy, you could basically create a ship that's basically a giant grasshopper that pole vaults from sun to sun using magnetic charges to accelerate itself.
Wow, cool.
I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible. I'm just saying, like that seems like a cool
Yeah,
idea for, a science fiction propulsion system. Like in Star Trek always had the hyperspace drives. What about like an F-19 cricket engine that uses the magnetic forces of the sun to basically jump like a cricket from star system to star system?
yeah. Well, depends on the size of the forces, of course, as we now see it. I know this 3i Atlas may be changing direction a little, and then there's the famous Pioneer anomaly. The Pioneer space probe was from the 1960s. There were a couple, and there are two of them that were sent out way out, and they have some kind of strange deviation from their predicted path based on gravity, and they have never been able to explain why they are deviating from that path. Oumuamua, the first interstellar object,
Also,
also
like it
has
accelerated.
is it yeah, like it's accelerating. And I think that is indeed this kind of electromagnetic charge difference that is adding some more
and
speed
and
or
and the
some more
entire
direction, some drift from a direction following the electromagnetic field instead of its gravitational path.
and the
Yeah.
galaxy is one giant pinball machine, and each star is like a little nod that sort of like knocks the object, and the pinball would basically be like Three Eye Atlas going through the galaxy from star to
Yeah,
star.
but I'd say that's the gravitational model largely. The traditional astronomy model is like, oh, the whole physics model is like, oh, the universe is a bunch of marbles bumping into each other.
Yep,
The electromagnetic view is like, no, these are not independent marbles. There are no islands in space. Everything uh,
is
is
connected.
there's always these electromagnetic fields between all the objects.
Interesting.
Yeah. So does that conclude my story so far? At least the Three Eye Atlas part. The whole
No,
electro.
that's really cool, and that seems
Yeah.
like something that could be very easily manipulated. In or if you could find a way to manipulate something like that, like the electromagnetic charge,
Yeah.
like you could probably make it like there's a science fiction idea of like a solar wind sail. Like, what if you
Yeah.
could make an electromagnetic sail that
Yeah.
it
I
spins
believe.
around in a coil, builds up a large charge, and then when it gets near your sun, there's a big discharge, and boom, off you go.
Yeah. 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 Well, there I come again to the point of the effects are there, but apparently only very small because we've seen small deviations of the path of Three Eye Atlas, Pioneer, and Oumuamua.
True,
But
but
in science fiction, you can probably come up with some way of making the effect stronger or work better.
well, no,
The solar sail ID is different from this. The solar sail ID is
it's from
use
radiation. It's
push
from
from
radiation on the sun. Yeah,
light. Yeah, use the push of the photons
right, right.
instead of a difference between electronic charge. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, throughout Atlas, it's moving real fast. What, like 67 miles per second?
relative to the sun, yes, I believe so. Yeah.
And is that faster than any of our probes in space can like? 'Cause I don't really know, but it seems like if the sun could launch a probe something like Through Eye Atlas and like sort of like accelerate it, if you could you like I'm saying use a magnetic something to accelerate a probe to 67 miles per second? Like, would that be feasible? Would that be realistic if this model actually worked? That would be a real
Um,
possibility. And maybe we have the technology to do it now if engineers
I think
understood
the
that, you
I
know.
think the practical existing application of that is the ion engine. There are some space probes that have been tested in the past 5 years successfully, uh, accelerating, I think, xenon or neon gas again out of a probe using an electric field at the like the engine nozzle, the rocket nozzle. Um, these engines give a very tiny push,
Gotcha.
but they can do so for an extremely long time. Like a normal chemical rocket engine can burn for minutes. These can burn for months or years because you just need a relatively small amount of gas that you can keep accelerating for a
Gotcha.
long time, leading to eventually far higher speeds. So I think that theoretically, very high speeds, like percentage of the speed of light, are possible that way, but you need a very long time to accelerate. And 3i Atlas was discovered in June, I believe, so we never had a chance of preparing a probe to catch up
Yeah,
with it.
a novel way of creating the acceleration is going to be needed. If, but I mean,
Yeah,
that's the cool thing about 3i Atlas, though. How many ideas have engineers and scientists got out of nature itself? And that's why
yeah,
this thing is so fucking cool. Because if this thing's moving at like 67 miles per second, maybe something about its chemical composition that we study about it, something about something
uh,
uniquely about it that's overcharging it in a way. If we could find a, like, maybe we need to use a lot of nickel or whatever, or CO2
yeah,
gas in a
yeah,
specific way that, yeah, 3i Atlas was using it, and suddenly it's a force multiplier on the acceleration. I don't know if that's
yeah,
true or not, but I'm saying that this is what's cool about 3i Atlas. It gives us another case study to look at and learn about physics. And hey,
yeah, yeah,
nature always does stuff better than we do. And they're like, oh, ion drives. It's like, maybe we should, build a drive off something that
yeah,
the 3i Atlas is doing that we don't know yet because we haven't dug into all the
yeah.
data.
And nature always keeps throwing stuff in our faces that we never expected, especially astronomy, but also archaeology, which isn't even nature, of course. But it has, for the past 30 years especially, been throwing so many things at us that always were unexpected. I mean, almost every popular science astronomy headline is surprise, surprise. And a lot of these things, for example, came from the Mars rovers and several other space probes that were exploring moons and planets. Suddenly finding ways that geology can work on other planets that have no equivalent on Earth, that we could not even imagine that existed, and now we've just found them, like the cold geysers of Ganymede. Uh,
Yeah.
Several strange terrain forms on Mars. Um, and this 3i Atlas would be another example. Like, oh, we've got a whole lot of samples of comets that we've studied over the years, especially the last 20 years. A lot of comets and asteroids have been discovered and studied, and now one comes out from outside the solar system. It doesn't have the right composition, it doesn't have the normal speed, it lights up in weird colors, so it's again different than we could ever imagine based on what we're used to. So, of course, we can again learn from that and try to emulate if there's some technological tricks, some combination of molecules in there that we hadn't thought of would be possible to exist, but exists anyway. Yeah,
No, dude, I think that's this thing has been so cool on so many levels because, and even though it is kind of outrageous to consider this thing being a probe from an alien universe, I don't think the possibility is 0%. I mean, it could be a natural thing, but I mean, it could also, like, it's not a 0% chance that this thing is some long time space probe from some extraterrestrial civilization from 100,000 years ago or whatever, or maybe even millions. Maybe this probe, it could be a dead probe even from a dead civilization. You know, we could go out
yeah,
tomorrow in World War III, right? But our probes are still floating around in space.
yeah,
3 million, 30 million years later from later now, some alien can be looking 6i Atlas, and it's one of our Voyager probes or whatever. Just
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. I'm glad I got my name on some of those NASA sent your name into space thingies.
yeah,
That I think like, okay, if everything ends, my name is somewhere on Mars, my name is somewhere in the outer solar system.
yeah,
I'm not forgotten.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
dude, no, seriously. Like, and imagine some aliens looking at one of our Voyager probes and going, "Man, there's aliens," and then it cuts to Earth, and it's just a smoking crater because we all blew ourselves up 100 million years ago in World
yeah,
War
yeah, yeah.
Three. That would
Yeah.
be a really sad story.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. as for 3i Atlas being alien, uh, I would very much hope to find some uh, proof of alien life during my lifetime. Would 3i Atlas be one?
Probably
So
not.
far,
Probably not.
I think I think like I can hand wave everything still with my poor understanding of electric universe theory, whereas someone like Angry Astronaut on YouTube uses every anomaly to say it's aliens, where I think like, well, maybe it's just physics working differently than they generally tell us.
No, that
So I'm remaining cautious. But of course, I would be jumping with excitement if some kind of ruin was found on it, or a radio signal comes out, or
yeah,
yeah.
and I mean like, and I'm not saying any of this is what it actually is when it comes to extraterrestrial thing, but one of the things that also kind of bothers me about this whole thing is when people do make the appeal for extraterrestrial life. I don't even think the questions that are being asked are the right questions.
Hmm.
So, for example, what do I mean by this? People were saying, "Oh, the anti-tail is just a thruster," and I don't
Hmm.
believe. But or like, "Oh my God, it's got an anti-tail. Maybe it's a thruster." If it's extraterrestrial, you have to throw all of that out. And the reason why, because if something is alien, it could be a matter like I gave, for example, the Voyager probe example I gave, where it's like, oh, the aliens find our Voyager probe and we're a dead civilization and it's traveled 30 million years or whatever. That that alien space junk, number one.
Hmm.
Number two, our entire conception of what alien life could actually be. For example, it's a crazy idea. I'm not even saying 3i Atlas is this, but it's important when you're asking the question of if something is alien or not. And there's no biological markers or any of that stuff on it, or but a life form the size of a comet, and a,
Yeah.
and it's a dumb alien life form that feeds off of suns, goes dormant for 100 million years, and then goes somewhere else. And none of the signatures you're looking for are even on there. So when people are saying, is it extraterrestrial? They think of it in terms of what human extraterrestrial life would be. And
Hmm.
so it's like the questions aren't even right. And the answers to those
Yeah.
questions aren't even right. So the
Let me
all the
support your
questions are fucked
thesis.
up.
Let me support your thesis with another corollary of the electric universe model. Um, Electric effects scale from the subatomic to the cosmological. A spark in a laboratory on Earth, a spark on your whatever when you plug in a wall, is the same kind of effect as lightning, which is a lot bigger, and it is, as far as I understand it, quite similar to a lot of the activity in the atmosphere of the sun, and it has similarities to the what's it called, the interplanetary magnetic fields connections between, for example, the Earth and the Sun, but the Sun and any other planet, along like a tube along which electrons travel, just like lightning is, just like your spark in the wall plug is. So going from that, this comet could be an electromagnetically active thing at a scale far bigger than human life, but still our nerves work largely by electric electromagnetic
Yeah,
jumps up and down. This one could be the same effect but on a larger scale.
right.
So yeah, I'm not sure if I managed to put it
No, no, no.
entirely
That
well in
is.
words, but
Uh,
what I'm yeah,
and like I'm going back to sort of like the biologic. What if 3I Atlas itself was a biological life form, like an
yeah,
interstellar crab living inside of a shell of a dead asteroid? Would we
yeah,
even
yeah,
would we even know the markers to look for something like that? Because it would have a
yeah,
completely different chemical composition than any of us. But that's why the questions like when people are looking, it's is it an alien space probe? Is it an alien space probe? That's not the right answer. Is it extraterrestrial? Because you have no context of what extraterrestrial is, and you have to
yeah.
approach it like that.
A comparison comes to mind, like the action of a nerve in the body is a change of electric potential jumping from knot to knot along the myelin sheath of the nerve. Um, I could imagine that, like the comet, similar to what you say, like all these stars are balls in a pinball machine or targets in a pinball machine, and this comet is jumping from star to star, and each pass next to a star is an information point, just like each jump of the signal along your nerve is an information point, which in normal human nerves
You
excites another nerve, or it excites a muscle making it contract, or it comes to the brain giving a sensation. I'm very much stretching the comparison here, but like, okay, maybe this comet is such a vehicle of electromagnetic information entering these nodes. Every star it passes by, changing the electromagnetic situation around that star, which has side effects, just like a muscle uh, voltage change has a side effect of changing the action of a muscle. Uh,
yeah,
Maybe the passing by of 3i Atlas changes something in the charge of, well, it's been close to Mars. Maybe it does something to the electromagnetic field of Mars, causing something to happen on Mars.
right. No, and
I'm really getting out there, but do
no,
you
no,
see
and
how I feel
see,
it scales? Yeah.
no. This sort of goes back to
Yeah.
what I was saying in the forum when I said Nikola Tesla might have the last laugh after all, because I think what
Yeah.
you're saying sounds a lot. Because I don't know what Tesla's ideas are. I only have the shortened YouTube versions of morons like me who don't read anything. But it's what you're describing with like the electromagnetic universe sounds a lot like the stuff Tesla was talking about in the 1900s. Like
Yeah.
he wanted to build this network on planet Earth that would give electricity to everybody on the planet for free. Now I don't know if that
Yeah.
idea it would actually work. But I believe a lot of the ideas that he was presenting for that engineering feat are based on principles you're talking about now, or at least they sound very similar to what was explained to me in layman's terms. And I know after he died, the government took
Yeah.
all of his research, and then for decades have been talking about no, 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 no. The unifying theory is string theory when maybe they've known for decades that it is actually electromagnetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Could well be. And I think the Chinese and the Russians are sitting on a ton of information they're keeping to themselves as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
if the universe is not a dark forest of aliens, our planet is with our own
Yeah.
species. You've heard of the dark forest theory, right?
The Dark Forest. Yes, but I forgot what exactly the story was. So remind me if you can.
The dark. So it's the answer to the Fermi paradox, the dark forest
Okay.
theory, where the universe is dark and we don't see aliens because everyone keeps their head down. And the
Ah,
reason why they
that
keep
one.
their head down is the moment you get discovered as an emerging civilization, the empire, the bigger empire in the bigger fish in the pond is going to immediately destroy you because you're an emerging competitor. So
Oh, yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
quiet, everyone hides, no one talks, and yeah, because it's very hostile out there,
Ah,
and
yeah.
it's a dark forest, and everyone keeps that shit quiet. You don't want aliens to know where you are because they're going to destroy you and take your resources because it's the entire universe is hostile and there's only a finite amount of
Yeah.
resources. That's the theory behind it, anyways. And it made for a really good science fiction book. And that's why I like going off on the rails all the time. I know I sound like a crazy person sometimes, but I love doing that because it's like, man, that would be a
Then I'm
great
equally
science fiction
crazy.
book. What?
Well, then I'm equally crazy.
Yeah,
If you're I have similar thinkings, so then we're equally crazy.
yeah. No, no, dude. And I think that's really cool, and I think that's why watching stuff like this is cool and why it matters.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, I don't know
there's
how
a
long
lot
we've been
more
talking for, but
probably talk about, but I'm getting a little tired. It's 10:15 in the evening over here.
no, dude. I think
And
that we covered a lot of shit, and I know I like to talk a lot.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. And I can think of several other subjects like the effect of one topic that you mentioned at the start was the history of civilization, and that ties into what I learned about the cycles of the ages of the Earth. That's a whole different story for another podcast.
yeah, dude. This shit excites me. Even if like
Yeah,
a
me
lot of
too.
it turns out to not be true, then it doesn't. It's not true. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Like when I was looking at Atlas and all these sort of like shit came in, and it was a legitimate non-0% chance that it was alien. I was like, whoa, this is important. Even if it's
Yeah, yeah,
natural,
yeah,
this is cool. And then we got those coronal mass ejections, which was really fucking cool. So, and now it doesn't
yeah.
even matter that it's not aliens to me. That in and of itself is fascinating because if that correlation does get proven, and it does in the future, it is proven that Three Eye Atlas was having some sort of effect on the sun and vice versa. I mean, that's really cool,
Let,
but
let, let
also
me let
very
me t-
scary.
let me temper your enthusiasm there. Coronal mass ejections are caused by comets
All the
quite
time.
routinely. Yeah,
Well,
so it would just it's quite amazing that it happens,
no,
but
dude.
it's not
See,
unusual that 3i Atlas does the same as other comets we've seen.
that's something I learned. I didn't know that
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that was like a big thing that happens with
yeah,
comets and stuff. I didn't know that they had an effect on the sun like that. So that's really
yeah, and
fascinating.
that's where this electric model demonstrates itself. Like around the comet and around the sun is an electromagnetic field, and if that field changes because the two fields come into contact with each other, at that moment electrons or ions, either positively or negatively charged, start moving in one or the other direction. That is a flare. A lot of mass ionized gas starts moving towards the next point of equilibrium. So that's how I understand that it works, how a comet affects the solar atmosphere. First, the two electromagnetic fields connect together, and then the plasma starts following the field, so then it gets pulls out of the sun's atmosphere towards the comet, or the other way around, depending on the direction of the charge.
Yeah, dude. All right, man. I could talk your ear off. I think,
Yeah.
dude. I think conspiracy theories and electromagnetism will be this one. I'm the conspiracy
Okay.
theorist, so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the things I talked about, I do not even consider conspiracy theories. The electric universe theory is not a conspiracy theory. It is a fringe science or
no.
yeah,
See,
the
you're
edge of
fringe science,
yeah,
and I'm like the
yeah,
conspiracy
yeah.
theorist guy. It's like, oh, the government's covering up that it's electromagnetism.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. The government covering up is the conspiracy, and that the fringe science is increasingly
But it feels
proven to
it
be
just feels like
actual
they
science. Is the
it feels like
yeah,
everything's been suppressed
yeah,
because of selfish, stupid assholes.
yeah.
And anyways, we can We'll end it
Yeah,
there.
I'd like to dive into that as well. How does this work, this information stream, this change, this getting stuck of academia on certain paradigms and then having a shift into a new paradigm after a crisis like we're going into? That's another story I can ramble on about
But dude,
when I've
this is
properly slept again.
I'm really excited, dude, because
Yeah.
this would be a unifying field. This would be the unifying theory everybody's been looking for, right? If it's true,
The electric universe.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's also what then makes me cautious again. Like, ooh, a theory that explains everything. Is it still Popper's criticism of theories? If it explains everything, it explains nothing.
Well,
Yeah.
it would. I do know electromagnetism is a force we have very little understanding of. It's
Yeah.
like, there's like that joke, fucking magnets, how do they work? And it's like a
Yeah.
scientist can describe how magnets work to you, but they can't tell you why it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's a good end. Dude, thanks for
Yeah. It's a
talking.
good ending.
It's
I
super
certainly would like
interesting
to talk a
stuff, dude.
lot more when we're yeah, when I've slept again. What time is it over on your place?
4 o'clock. I've got to go feed the cats and do chores. So,
Okay, yeah. And it's almost 10:30 over here, so work tomorrow. Hey,
okay.
thank you very much.
Yep.
And well, you can share this with the Tilda if you like. It would be nice to hear the responses.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. See you then.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
God bless you.